Welcome to the Society of Cryptid Hunters podcast. Josh and David, just two regular guys with a passion and interest in our unknown and unexplained hidden world. This show delves into the latest sightings, theories, research, and stories in the field of cryptozoology. If you enjoy the show and don't want to miss an episode, please give them a follow and leave them a comment. Let's embark on this journey together and keep an open mind as we explore the mysterious world of cryptids.
On this
I
computer.
want more. Give me
All
more.
right. All right.
Hold
So
on.
this is our weird news May edition.
Oh, it's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May. So I
What's the
was
end of
thinking
May?
probably we're just gonna do this like once a month with our schedules. So
Huh.
how you doing, Josh?
Doing fantastic.
So I
Fantastic.
think you're probably doing fantastic because the solar flare didn't knock out your power, GPS, or cell coverage, but it did
That's
let
great.
me see the Northern Lights.
You know, I actually heard the Northern Lights made it all the way to Texas, but I did not see them at all.
I did see them for the first time, and it was magical.
I believe you would see them where you live, and I have seen them from Ohio back in the day, where I got some really cool pictures from my sister. She sent them to me that they saw them in Ohio, which is really cool.
Yeah,
So
it was like purple. Like I thought it was only green. Like it was like purple and
purple,
yellow.
green, it's just the wave of just whoa.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was really cool. And as you can see, like I have one arm. It was the second week of me being after my surgery. So like I was
Yeah.
just out there
Be something to do
just
other than watch Monk.
yeah, exactly other than watch Monk. I was just out there staring at the stars, which like man, like it is really amazing just standing out there and staring at the stars. Like there's something that
Right?
you get as a human just doing that. And
Well,
I
it's
think that we
amazing
should do
when we
more of.
see things that are bigger than us and how it amazes us and we get out of our own little head, our own day to day. Amazing. Something like
I
that,
think
what
you
it can
also
do.
see about how light pollution really like affects, your perception of the cosmos too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Um
Oh,
so
yeah.
one so what I wanted to get into. So one of my friends, my friend Cam, he gave me a Tool um vinyl record. And I have a whole
Band
bunch of
tool.
vinyl. Go ahead.
Yeah. The band tool.
The band Tool, yes.
Yeah. That's so
I
cool.
have a
I
whole
think you had a
like I
tool vinyl record. What does that tool do? You know what I mean?
yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
some people
So
may not know who Tool is that listen to this. I just want to make
okay,
sure.
yeah, yeah, you're right. So I'll get a
Okay.
precursor. So Tool, the psychedelic rock metal
All
band
kinds
that
of
like
stuff,
really
man.
has no genre.
Yeah.
Um so this guy I work with, he knew that I liked vinyl because I collect vinyl. I have a whole bunch of vinyl. I have two vinyl record players. And the last time I saw you, you knew I had a whole bunch of vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just randomly put this vinyl in, which was Tool Lateralis's episode. And it was actually because of uh the solar flare. Like it had not it was like something weird. Like I was just thinking like Tool's all about like, fire things and like I just saw the stars. I was like, all right, let me throw this uh this vinyl in. And when I was reading the back of the linear notes from the vinyl, it said Coast to Coast AM Art Bell. And I was like, what?
What?
Because we always talk I mean I think I always like bringing up like Coast to
Yeah.
Coast,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like I think you're the one that actually showed it to me.
Well, when I could
Whatever.
actually stay up past a certain time, yeah, I
Right.
back then I did. I was up late and I listened to Coast all the time, all the
Okay.
time.
And I wanted to bring this up because, I just got my shoulder worked on. So like I was like staying, I've done nothing for like 2 weeks. Well, just sitting in this my third bedroom, watching Monk and some random shows. And like I had a radio, and I was like, oh well, it's after 10. Like maybe I'll just fall asleep to Coast to Coast, because I can actually do that now, instead of like going to sleep
Yeah.
at 9 o'clock every night.
Right. Right.
Which, by the way, like I'm sure you know this, like there are some random people that call in to that thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, open line Friday nights is the best.
Um,
Anybody can call in and just ask a question. It's like, whoa.
well, so I guess that's every night now. So the
Oh, is
first
that?
hour they have like somebody talk, and then the second hour they have like a call in portion,
Okay.
and then the third
But they have
hour
people
they have
call in
like
and talk to the guests, right? Is that what you're saying?
right, yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
They've
then
done
the
that.
third hour they have like some different guest talk, or he
Yeah.
just talks like
That's
really
cool.
random.
Yeah.
And, like, it's all over the place, dude.
So,
Like, it's
so
way all over the board.
what's the correlation with the Tool album and Art Bell?
Okay, so I was gonna get into that. So it's called, the track is called Fep de Ota. And, let me tell you what that actually means. Like, before I get into what that means, um, give me a second. It's called The Voice of God. In, um Enochian, a language invented or discovered depending on what you believe. Uh, yeah, the voice of God. So in 1997, some guy called in to Art Bell, which Art Bell is a whole other conversation, but he called in, and I'm about to read to you what he said, which I think is a very like I know we always talk about weird news, and yeah, this was 97, but when I'm done talking, I'm gonna explain how this is also relevant to now. So this guy um who called into our bill in 1997, this is his transcript. I don't have a whole lot of time. Okay, I'm a former employee of Area 51. I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and and I've kind of been running across the country. Damn, I don't know where to start. They're they're gonna mm, they're triangulating on this position really, really soon. Okay, okay, what we're thinking of as aliens, they're extra dimensional beings. That earlier precursor of space programs they made contact with, they are not what they claim to be. They've infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters are coming. The military, I'm sorry, the government knows them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world, and that they could begin moving the population to now. They are not. They want those major population centers wiped out so that they few are left will be more easily controllable.
Wow.
Okay, so which if you, listen to the Tool song, really fun to listen to, but what I wanted to, get into and what I thought that was relevant, what he said is that they are extra dimensional beings. So, Tucker Carlson Tucker Carlson believes that, aliens are interdimensional. There's a lot of, people that believe that aliens are actually interdimensional, uh demons or angels, whatever you want to call them, or bad angels, whatever you want to say. That these aliens are coming in and out of the angel world. There's a whole belief upon this. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. Like it's a it's a huge belief now. Like a lot of people are believing this. There's a lot of talk on this now, and I wanted to get your thought on this.
All right. Okay. A lot of thoughts on this. It's it's weird because anytime something like this comes up now, and somebody puts something on YouTube or something else where they see something and it possibly could be interdimensional, it's quickly shut down or shunned or made fun of, ridiculed, if you will. Uh,
Right.
Man, I hate to bring this up again, but I immediately think of the Miami situation at the mall, where a lot of the things I've watched and read about the so-called aliens at the Miami Mall, whatever
I
that
love that story.
dude. If you really get into that, jump into that rabbit hole, it's interesting.
I'm gonna do that later.
There's a couple of guys I think are probably making good money making videos on this now. They just keep going there. There's a there's a kid from I think California that goes back every so often and meets his other buddy. They're both YouTube guys and they do EVP readings and it's that's crazy. Like EVP, for those of you who don't know, is electronic voice phenomenon where you can pick up things in different dimensions, and we a lot of times it's really
Spirit
crazy
box.
because we think that it's ghosts or spirits, like you're talking to someone you love. But let me tell you, it's not someone you love. It is something from a different dimension that's trying to get to you. So be very careful with playing with that. I used to back in the day do stuff like that where I got some stuff that scared me. One time I heard a thing that sounded like a straight up demon. Turned out it was the zipper of my backpack. So yeah, dude, I was done. I was done. I'll never do it again. But you go back, there's other ones where I had recordings of somebody trying to talk to us and another voice coming in telling them to shut up, which is really weird. And I don't have that recording anymore. I had a buddy back and forth that does. But when I asked him about it, he doesn't have it anymore either. So, but I know exactly where the spot is.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah. So when it
that's
comes to
fascinating.
yeah, yeah, when it comes to interdimensional things, though, that's definitely a topic. I don't think that's brought up enough in with conspiracy theorists, with outside thinkers, or anything like that. That's definitely one that realm of possibilities that we definitely. How do we know? How do we tap into it? If there is something smarter than us that can jump back and forth, and can we see them when they do show up randomly? Some people probably can. Some people, I mean, the brain is the brain is interesting. I did do a little research on the brain for a little bit, not long because I got bored because I'm human. But we only use 10% of our brain, but we're told. And
I
if
will
we can,
talk more about that.
okay, so if we can unlock more, we can do other things like make things move,
So
levitate.
I'll
Okay,
stop you right there. That's
okay,
actually not true. We
okay,
actually only know 10% about our brain. We use our brain, but we only know
well, we only know about
10% of
ten
our
percent.
brain.
Okay,
Yeah. If you listen to can't think of his name right now, but there's a physicist that actually debunked that. Yeah.
okay, okay. So like, there's things I was reading for a while, like can you make a pen move on a table by staring at it long enough and focusing all the energy from your brain to it? I'd never made a pen move in my life, so I stopped. But but the idea that the brain, some people could unlock a certain portion of that 10%, see things that we can't see. There's a belief like all around us, like you can see it in movies. Like there could be some people, entities around me right now. I don't know. I have no idea. That's a weird thing to think about. Is that they're here but on a different plane of existence, which is really freaky. Is it a possibility? Yeah, my hair just got really big on my neck. But the idea of something in the essence of like what happened in Miami, could have something of happened. I kind of feel like something more happened than that was said there, and then everybody says it's a joke, and then you pull out the things and the typical media stuff that shuts everybody's down, and they just dumbing us down every day on everything. Have we got smarter? I mean, we're not. I thought when the year I thought when the year 2000 hit, we'd be really close to being like the Jetsons. We're not even close at all.
No, not even close. I'm
So
gonna have
we're
to
dumb.
watch some of these videos that you're talking about because this is the second time you brought it up, and I have not researched this. I
Well,
apologize.
I mean, you got time to watch it. I'll send you a couple of the links and then check them
I've
out.
seen the video of the like alleged alien at the mall in Miami. I've seen that, and we brought up in one of our weird news.
Yeah, there's a couple. I haven't spent a couple months now, but obviously more than a couple months was like January that this
I think
happened.
so,
But
yeah.
if you one of the ones shortly after they do a night walk through the area, they don't really see anything, but they hear things, and it's kind of weird. And they talk about it, and then they talk about people there, and like, no, this didn't happen, or some people say, no, we can't talk about it. It just gets really weird. And there's like this interview with a police officer that he says something like, "There's no aliens as of now." Just kind of weird stuff where it's like, what, and then I don't know.
Sure.
There's, but I'm not saying there's
Okay,
aliens,
so
but
I wanted
I
to
mean,
say, like,
yeah,
to end this like idea of like interdimensional beings, like I had this thought recently.
yeah,
Like, so interdimensional, they say like they could just pop up anywhere.
yeah,
So I have two ideas on that. Either one, that's complete not true, or two, they're so smart that like obviously like if you're gonna pop anywhere, like could you not pop up inside of my heart? And then that like to where there's like a vehicle just like started that their point of entry was like literally the center point of my heart, like when you think of like Stargate, like where they had to have the seventh symbol, whereas the location where they're going to go to, like, so let's say that for instance like
yeah,
was like the center of my heart, so like they just um they showed up here in our reality, and it happened to be the center of my heart, and I just died. Well, none of that's happening anywhere that I know of. So
well, yeah,
either it's not true or they're so far beyond our ideas that they're either showing up in the middle of the ocean or in the sky because there's no collateral damage because of it, which is possible when you start thinking of what I just said.
yeah. When it comes to that, here's kind of my thoughts when I think about this. I'm going to go right into abductions. Right
Mm,
to alien abductions. Okay. So a lot of times when people say they see alien abductions, they say they see lights in the sky, which they immediately attribute to a flying object. Okay, how do we get that put in our heads? It's called television. It's called movies. Okay, but if there's a bright light and then beings in your room already, then not be interdimensional right there. They not just like I don't know, you beam me up, Scotty, just show you up right in your room and take you because or they know how to shift from place to place. I mean, the crazy thing is with that there are movies and TV shows that talk about that. And like if you really look at the TVs and like people aren't just coming up with these ideas. Somebody how do we come up with these ideas? I mean, really, a lot of stuff is programmed. We're prepared for things to come. What's the movie where the TV show on Prime, Man, I wasn't ready for this one at all. But it's the Prime TV show with the Nazis when they actually win. The
oh, you're
Man,
talking about Man in the High Castle or something
yes,
like
Man
that?
in the High Castle, where they can go and then they had the film with everything in the history and all that stuff.
Yeah, I stopped
They
watching
can
after
they
like
can
the
just
seventh episode or something.
yeah. So but they can shift and like do these things. So that came out in a random Prime show. It's out there. It's a belief. It's something that who knows if it's possible or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of talks of time travelers, all kinds of things. But when it comes to like
Oh,
an interdimensional being, how can that not be? There's no such thing as aliens, but because it's been embedded into our brains of what aliens are, everybody knows what an alien is. Everybody knows what a UFO, flying saucer is. How could it not be that an interdimensional being is the thing we're not really thinking about?
I love that you just said time travel because I'm gonna Paul Blartlet into our next topic, which
Segway,
is
baby.
time travel. A time traveler got arrested in Wyoming.
Oh yeah.
So, this time traveler he got arrested in Wyoming, and spoiler alert, he was inebriated.
Wow.
Cops in Casper, Wyoming recently responded to a rather strange call about a man claiming to have come from the future. According to the authorities, Bryant Johnson was, of course, his name's Bryant Johnson, by the way, was causing some kind of
Mother
disturbance.
of Dwayne.
Um, as a resident in a city and insisting that he was time traveling and sent to save humanity. Of course, he was here to save humanity. The young
Of
man
course.
weaved a remarkable tale in which he had come from the year 2048, and that his
Wow.
mission was to warn modern day residents of Casper that the aliens would be arriving next year.
What, 2049? I gotta wait till after I'm well retired. Ah,
Yeah, so it it gets more into it, and he actually like so he apparently gets more belligerent, and he says that the aliens actually were trying to send him to 2018 and they messed up and sent him to this reality, but either way he's trying to inform us that in a year that there's going to be an alien invasion, which I love these stories of time travelers because there's a John Teeter story. I don't know if you ever heard that of John Teeter. It's like
I think so. Yeah.
an old
Yeah. Yeah.
internet story of like some guy who's like talking about he was a time traveler, which is always like super funny to me.
Oh yeah. No,
I've
those are actually really interesting. There's some really good, interesting ones of you know of time travelers for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's the most interesting is their account of it because like uh whether you believe or not, which I don't believe him, but like the story is still fun.
Huh.
It's still fun. I don't care. Um, and we're gonna Paul Bartlett. I'm gonna stop that, and we're gonna Paul Bartlett into my next weird news. The Vatican is publishing a new guidance on investigating supernatural phenomena. Researchers say that the Vatican is collaborating on a UFO cover-up with the U.S. military.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if you know this, but the Vatican have a like this giant library that nobody's allowed to go to
Oh
that
yeah.
has all these
I
old
think
books
I
too.
think honestly, anybody that cares knows about that. Yeah, and there could actually be documents from the time when the Bible was written that aren't in the light of day. That's a big conspiracy. A lot of stuff too that could really shed light on a lot of things for people, good or bad. I don't know. We won't know. You just can't find out. It's That's just how it is.
Yeah, and like there's I mean obviously that's like the Da Vinci Code movies like
Yeah,
Dan
yeah,
Brown gets into it a little bit. I
yeah.
think what was it the second movie they made, what was that called? I can't think it was Angels and Demons. I think they brought
Angel
up
Demons.
the
Yeah.
archives.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. The movie Stigmata had issues with had stuff with that too. If you remember that,
okay.
the Gospel of Thomas was something that I actually think you can get now. I think,
Which,
but
off the subject, the Vatican City is the smallest country in the world, by the way, because
yes,
this is inside Italy, and they
uh,
have what is it called? An obelisk? What is it called? That
obelisk.
giant an
Yeah.
obelisk, which they got from Egypt, like that's in front of it. Why is it there? Nobody
Oh
knows.
yeah.
Nobody
There's a
knows
lot
why
of
they
things
have it.
there.
Nobody knows
Yeah.
why they stole it from Egypt and they took it from there, but like why is it there? Like why did they take something that's a pagan symbol from Egypt
No,
and stick
I
it in
would
front of their building? I don't know.
strictly from a conspiracy theorist aspect, not a religious aspect. Yeah, it's quite it's interesting and something to look into for sure. I mean the stuff in the Dan Brown books is there, but a lot of that, I mean, it's definitely works of fiction, but all
Well,
this stuff is there. But
I'm gonna Paul Bartlett and segue into our next topic, which is a robot dog equipped with a flamethrower. which is
Like
now available
a
that you can
frame
buy
thrower.
excuse me, a flame thrower, a
Thank you.
dog that has
I was like,
a
I don't know what a frame
flame
thrower is, but
thrower.
I hope there's no pictures in it or any works of art worth of anything. But yeah, that's man, that's some Black Mirror stuff right there.
Oh, I was gonna bring that up. Have you seen the Black Mirror episode where it
With
has
the
that
dogs,
dog that
the
follows the
robotic
woman?
dogs. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like the same thing of this. Like that's the first thing I
Why
thought
are
of was
people
like
making
this.
this stuff? Why are they doing it? Is there other than they're probably being like paid to? How can you eradicate people? Why are we making this? Like why is AI's like I understand the use of AI for certain things, but dude, if you keep making stuff smarter, have you not learned anything? This is why I keep going back to movies. Movies are legit
Which is
programming us to be understand and like oh like you cannot talk about AI without having a joke about Skynet right now. You
so
just
that was
cannot.
gonna be my next thing.
You
I was
cannot.
gonna start a segment with
People are
you
dumb.
was is this is Skynet because can you not tell me this is not Skynet from
It's the
those stores?
very
Like this is
beginning.
exactly what they're
It's the
talking
very
about.
beginning because the computer's learning. So every time you go into like Chat GPT or anything else, which is it's already picking up probably what we're talking about. And I every time I go, I use ChatGPT. I use it. I use it for work. I use it to help me with things, and it's actually quick and easy. But it's learning everything we're asking. It's learning everything. It's learning at a very rapid pace because millions and millions of people are using it. So it's
I'm
learning
afraid I can't
so
do that,
fast,
Dave.
so fast. But when you ask it some scary questions already, which people have had, which have, but it replies a scary answer. But then again, it's but then if you look at I think it was ChatGPT was the one that were or was it OpenAI? One of them let go a bunch of people because of one way or the other. They weren't restricting it enough or controlling it. So it once it starts getting into the computers and other things like that, that's when you got to start worrying about things. Starts making his own decision, and then that's you watch the movie like Terminator when it becomes self-aware. Then that's just when all a part of my French shit hits the fan.
So I wanted to bring this up
Not really
because
French.
like I have a fear of AI because I saw in the beginning and this just bear with me. My first part about this is like when I first started thinking that Skynet was real is I walked into a Walmart and I went to Walmart and tried to buy something. It was think it was about 2002 and they're like you got to go to self checkout. I was like, "What?" And you scan your stuff and put it in a bag. I was like, there's not a person that's doing this? Like, what are we talking about? And now, jump to now. Um, I'm not going to tell you what internet provider I have, but there was a problem with my bill, and I called them. I was like, "Hey, my bill's like $40 more than it should be." And they're like, "Hey, there's something in your system," and I was like, "Okay, well, it sounds like it's your problem." And they're like, "Well, you've been overusing your data." I'm like, "I have one TV. I'm never at home." And I barely use my computer. And they're like, all right, AI is going to diagnose your problem. And I was like,
No,
this sounds weird, but I don't know if I want to do it. But I was like, sure, whatever. And they're like, oh, we diagnosed your problem and there was a bug in your system and it was overusing your system. You're not overusing your stuff. And we need to give you a credit back. I was like, okay, that's weird. And they're like, we need to use AI to get into your bank account. I'm not joking. I'm still going exactly what they said. And I pulled up my bank account. They're like, this is how we're gonna put the credit back in your bank account. I was like, I don't like any of this. I don't like the fact that I have my bank account open on my computer.
yeah.
And it didn't work. And it was weird. All of it was weird. It didn't work. I didn't get this credit back. And I started freaking out. I was like, this I don't like any of this. And the guy hung up on me. Um
Whoa.
uh but like here's the thing, like AI is doing everything now. Like they there's doctors that are asking AI like about certain surgical ideas and stuff. Like if you start looking at Terminator, remember Terminator 3, the reason they let Skynet happen is because they couldn't do it on their own. So they let Skynet, which was just a computer operation, for defense weapons, like take over so that they wouldn't be infiltrated. Like when I was, I think that movie came out and I was like 19 and I saw it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This is never gonna happen. If that happened right now, would you be even remotely, shocked? No, you wouldn't.
No, no. Did you ever go to when we went to Florida, when you came to visit me when I lived in Florida, did I take you to Universal?
Hmm.
Did we go to Universal?
Yeah, we
We
did.
did we do the Terminator 2 before they shut that down.
Oh,
Did we do the
oh
show?
God, I loved it. That was my favorite thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So you remember like the whole commercial with Skynet and all that stuff with the big
Hmm.
butterflies and all that.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like where I'm feeling like we're not at that point just yet, but we're on the precipice of it. Like there's going to be something even by next year. I feel that's going to be really close to that, and it's kind of
So
freaky.
AI right now can scan everything that we say on this podcast, and they actively are, depending on what platform we're putting it on.
Right. And if
Um,
you watch Rick and Morty, you should definitely say please and thank you to AI. But thank you, AI.
Please and thank you.
Please be nice to me.
And
I
you're
will.
an
I
overlord, but I
respect you.
really appreciate you, and please don't cancel me.
Yeah, I respect you very much, AI. Thank you for helping me with all my problems and
And we're gonna
questions.
Paul Bartlett into something else so I don't get canceled.
All right,
Um,
let's do it.
uh,
Man, I while you're thinking that, I just think about like the hardworking people in America or other countries that are working factories, working like garages, work at all these things, and like don't use computers all the time, and how many people are going to be so out of jobs and out of things and just don't have any knowledge of it or don't care. I mean, there's so I mean, you got to think about think of, like people that's been working the same job for like 30 plus years and just they're
bro,
just going to
you've been working a
retire.
job you're at for over 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, but mine's a little different than like working like a labor job or something. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
well, I
it's
guess. Yeah. I mean, that's why, I mean, I had so many labor jobs and I stopped working them because, like, I remember one day I was like, man, I'm not, like, I make $11 an hour, like, and I have a labor job. Like, this physically hurts. Like, this isn't going anywhere.
yeah. Keep
I
doing
will
it, get a
say,
dollar raise every year, or something.
before I
That's
Paul Bartlett into something else, like, that is one thing that Tucker Carlson said, that he was his fears on AI is like, if we're so scared of AI, he was like, why don't we just unplug the server? Because, like, think about this, man. Like, people are always afraid, like, oh, like, AI might take over, they might take over the world, or they might, release nukes or whatever. I'm like, all right, well, unplug the thing, because that's what Tucker
yeah.
Carlson is
If
like.
that's
What?
the
Why
biggest
can't we
thing,
just unplug the server? Because my thing is like, somebody said this to me recently, and I wanted to bring this up. Um, they were like, I wish I didn't have a cell phone. I was like, well, if I didn't have a cell phone, my life wouldn't change that much. And they're like, you sure? I'm like, well, I have physical copies of music. I have physical copies of movies. I love to camp. Um, and I have guns and bows and arrows. Like, if the grids, let's say the grid went down right now. Let's say the solar flare happened like the beginning of this episode, and I had to fend for myself. I literally have a guard in my backyard, and I could hunt for meat if I really had to. Like, it wouldn't change that much. Would it suck? Yeah, maybe, but it wouldn't be that bad in my opinion. Do I want it to happen? No, I don't. But there's definitely, like, people in big cities like downtown Dallas, downtown New York, like, they're gonna die because there's not gonna be water.
downtown LA. Oh,
Downtown
buddy,
LA, yeah.
buddy, don't go there. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. There are people that are addicted to things like
And I actually have a belief that I think it would take 3 to 5 days. If the grid went down and there was no water, for instance, like, I'm not talking about electricity, water.
yeah,
Electricity went down because, like, in Dallas, electricity goes down all the time from the tornadoes, and it's down for like 24 hours, whatever. But
right,
let's say there's like 5 days of no water. I think, like, in a place like LA, again, New York, downtown Dallas, places like that. I
oh,
think
you're gonna
after
start
five
everywhere.
days, like, people are resorting to like Mad Max, like, This is the end kind of style.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I've been into not really downtown Chicago, but outside Chicago when it was hot and there's no air conditioning. And I honestly turned the wrong way. And wow. I've also been downtown. I've been I've been in some rough areas in LA too. And it's always hot ish. Not hot like here in Texas. Like I'm sweating like I probably lost 10 pounds talking to you right now in the garage, but um, you know, but yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, because you're doing it
Yeah.
in your garage.
Yeah. Can wake up the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but
funny.
yeah, it's all good. Why is Daddy talking about these weird things? Ah, but
Yeah.
yeah, no,
I
I
mean,
totally hear what you're saying. That's what you're saying about that.
are these things that like keep me up at night? No, like some people like that stuff like actually bugs them. Like
You know,
it doesn't bug me. Like I have chickens and I have water. Like the water would be like the only thing I really worry about. Like,
to be honest with you, I think it's how old you are at that point. Like,
hmm
I want to say like probably I don't want to not even well maybe about 10 years ago even. Was it? Yeah, about 10 years ago, about the time I still live in South Carolina, I was all into prepping and doing this and doing that. I was in an
mm,
apartment. How could I do that out of an apartment? And then I started looking for a place like a place to live that was further away from work. What can I do? Um, have my backup storage, and now it's kind of like, well, the backup storage that we would have is just kind of something we would use. We make sure we have plenty of like that got us through the pandemic actually. Uh, we had uh we had toilet paper. We didn't have to go scour for it. We were good, you
this is
know.
when you're living in uh
In California at that time.
California at the time, right?
Yeah, so people were all looking for toilet paper, this and that. And I had people that worked for me asking if I had any extra, and I was like, I'd hook them up, this and that.
Hey man,
But
you got that toilet paper, dog. You got that toilet
dude,
paper.
like it was legit. Like I was gonna go 2 days ago and I didn't go, and now we are out, and I can't find it in stores anywhere. And so I mean,
So
okay. Here's the thing. Let me really quick about the pandemic and toilet paper. Everybody made so much fun of that. Anytime the news or anything makes fun of people for what they're doing, people that are they're doing it are doing the right thing. What the hell are you gonna do when there's no toilet paper? It is like gold, man. Toilet paper is like gold,
you're gonna
especially
have to like use paper around you, and it's
well,
gonna
it's like
hurt.
no, in the way our society, the way we live right now, it's like literally food, water, toilet paper. I'm not kidding. Like toilet
I will
paper,
tell
I
you,
don't understand why people thought that was like a so funny. People are lining up for toilet paper. I'm like, well, if it's the end of the world and you can't wipe your ass, what are you gonna do?
I will tell you, um, during
I
that
mean,
time,
seriously.
I was on a ship staring at North Carolina, waiting to be able to pull in, and we were told you're not allowed to pull in yet. And they're like, the world, like we don't know what's happening. And I was like, what?
What?
So we just sat there and stared at North Carolina and the East Coast for 90 to 100 days. And during that time, my wife, here back in Washington, she had already had toilet paper, but she was doing the uh Amazon thing where it was coming once a month. She did in fact go to the store and there were people fighting over um
Yeah,
toilet
yeah,
paper up here. But she did the Amazon thing. It came once a month and you get like, I don't know, 30 rolls. But we also we're already she was already doing Butcher Box, which on the West Coast is like it's food that gets sent to your house.
yeah.
We were already kind of doing that, because my wife doesn't like going to the store much, but like, she was getting, like I saying, butcher box sent to us. But we had chickens too.
Yeah,
At the
yeah.
time I think at the time I think we had 4 or 6 chickens. So no matter what, she still had eggs coming from that, but you still have to feed them too. So there's that part of it.
Yeah,
But
for
like the
sure.
way of life that people used to, before 2020, people called our way of life, they thought we were like living this like weird colonial, like, they think that's like political to live that way. I'm like, you're crazy
No,
if you think that's like a political way to live
no.
this way.
I
And then
yeah.
after that, we're like, oh, now we don't look that weird, do we?
No. When people have to put a lot of politics on everything, it's just those are the people with the problems. Instead of like looking at what humanity is and how you should like live in a normal society, straight up normal society to do what's best for you and your family, not live like the Joneses and think you have to have big houses and big cars and all this fancy shit all the time. And is the biggest thing is man, there's a big one looking over you, man, and that's that's the one we got to look towards and takes care of us. So
Well, so now like
yeah,
everybody's like, hey man, you got any eggs? I'm like, oh, now you want eggs from me? Now you don't
yeah,
think it's weird that I have eggs?
yeah.
And
$5, $10 a dozen.
so now I get about 6 to 8 eggs a day. My wife hard boils them, and I'll eat them for breakfast and stuff when I go to work. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna be doing fine if the grid goes down. And I will Paul Bartlett into our last segment for this weird news.
Yeah, things are getting
Just
heavy. We get
to sum it all up,
yeah.
there was an alien sighting in Bolivia, and I
Oh,
watched the video. Um, and it was again, I always bring this up. It's just a stupid video of
yeah.
like this thing in the background and it just flies back and forth and they're like, oh, it stops and somebody comes out. Like, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
Nobody came out of the aircraft. It was just like some stupid pea looking thing in the background. Like,
Yeah.
this is my problem that I've always told you one time. Like, give me a
No.
real video. Give me something
You
that looks real.
let me break this down really quick. Is like I feel like whenever somebody has a real true encounter, they don't have their cameras ready. But the people that see this shit, they know something that's not real is there and they're recording it to do something for online.
I I did want to bring this up, and I remembered now I want to bring this up. I'm gonna when the solar flare was happening, and then
Yeah.
they said that I could see the northern lights. Like I'm never like outside actively staring at the sky, which I think as a society we should do a lot more because it gives you a
Yeah,
perspective of like how small you are as
for
a
sure.
person.
Absolutely.
But I saw so much things flying back and forth that
Yeah.
weren't in an orbit. I know there's people that are be like, well, there's not an actual orbit, whatever. I don't care about those
Yeah.
people's beliefs, but like I saw things go different directions all over the sky, and it
Yep.
was definitely not a it wasn't a plane. And yeah,
No.
sure, some of them are satellites, but satellites go in the same direction, and
Correct.
there was other
Yeah.
things going on
Yep.
in different directions at night, and I was like, what are these things?
Yeah, I could tell you a quick story about when I used to live in Florida. I lived in Orlando at the time, and
Hmm.
sometimes I had a group of friends where we would just be out. I mean, to be straight honest with you, drinking all night.
Hmm.
Decide, hey, let's go to New Smyrna Beach and wait till the sun rises. So we would do that. We'd be hammered. We'd find somebody that was sober enough to drive us out there, and we drive out there and we look up at the sky and you can see everything off the beach there in New Smyrna. Sometimes New Smyrna, sometimes we went to Cocoa Beach, depending on
Love it.
what we felt like that night. Happened like 3 or 4 times we did that, but agreed, same thing. We'd look up, I'd see stuff moving across the sky and make weird directions that should not happen. It just shouldn't happen.
I mean, people say that
Like
like
90 degree
it should
angles
it
almost sometimes. It was insane.
exactly.
And like,
And
did you see that? Yeah, I
there's
saw that.
things
What was
going
that?
different go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was just that. It was like the conversation. Did you see that? They saw that, and everybody agreed that that shouldn't have done that. But
Yeah, I've seen things go 45-degree angles, 90-degree angles. I've seen things like intersect. I'm like, that's obviously not on an orbit because it's not
yeah,
going on an orbit of the Earth. Like, what is that? It's got to have its own propulsion or something.
did you ever hear that
It's not a
weird theory that
satellite.
if you had like night vision goggles and you went to a very clear place, you could see a lot of like UFO type phenomena?
I've heard this, yeah.
Yeah, I never actually ponied up the money to get the goggles to go do
Well,
that.
goggles cost like 10,000 or something.
You can get some cheap ones. Go to Infowars. I'm sure they have some cheap ones.
And for Well, Alex Jones is gonna let me borrow his
No, that dude ain't gonna let
MVGs.
you borrow nothing. The guy's gonna sell it to you. As long as it's man formula. Makes you see the
You
truth.
know, I'm gonna after this podcast, I'm gonna email Alex Jones and ask him if I can have his MVGs.
May we please have your night goggles, please?
Pretty sure he's not gonna email me back, but I'm gonna
No,
do it
no,
anyway.
he's gonna charge everything. He's got a lot of bills to pay right
Whatever. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
now. Oh yeah.
Um, but back to it, like there's so many things in the sky, man. Like if like no one's actively staring at the sky and talking about it, I don't think. Like and like you just said, like there's things going all over the place. All
I
over the
think there's
place,
people
man.
talking about it, just nobody, not enough people's listening. That's the thing. Like you can
Like
find it. We're talking about it now. Nobody's gonna listen to it. But at the same time, like there's other people with podcasts that talk about this in depth, and nobody cares. It
well,
doesn't
like
break
here's the
beyond
thing,
a
like
certain point.
the only reason I'm talking about it is because of staring outside at the northern lights. Like I was staring at the sky for like an hour. And
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
just staring up there, like you're seeing all kinds of things and you're not hallucinating. It's actually happening.
yeah, for sure.
But like on a normal day, like you come home, like we'll say you're coming home at 10 o'clock in the night, like you went out somewhere. Let's say you went to a restaurant, hung out with some friends, and come home, and like you just happen to look up before you walk in your house, like you're not seeing them whole much. But if you're literally staring up at the sky for an hour, like you see these things.
Yeah, yeah. On a really clear night, I mean, clear skies. I mean, places with a lot of light pollution, you can't see anything. I mean, there's designated zones where you cannot have light pollution now because it's the whole country for a majority of it. So,
So I went
yeah.
to Hawaii, and there's this observatory in Hawaii that's above the clouds, there where there's no light pollution, and it's breathtaking how many stars you can see in the
Yeah.
sky. And like, I mean I was very young. I think I was like 18 at the time. Maybe actually I think it was like 16 or 17 or something. But like, yeah, like you're seeing so much. Like in the city, you're not seeing anything. You're seeing like, 15 stars or something. But
You don't see
when you get
anything.
out, like what you're saying, like, like you were saying, like, all the coast or, out in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere,
Well,
you're seeing.
that was East Coast back then. When I lived on the West Coast, we went to go look for the last big comet that came through.
Hmm.
I can't remember which one it was. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, but we went to a couple times. There's a canyon. There's a canyon south of us where we live in SoCal. Where I was like, well, I think we should go here. There's a lot of people out there looking for it. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I didn't see anything, and I thought it was just gonna fly by really fast. I didn't realize that literally hung out and just was there for a while, just kind of slowly floating because with distance and time and everything, it doesn't just go by like a blaze of light. You miss it. No, it just hangs there and floats. So we ended up going to up in the a couple days later. We took a trip and got an Airbnb up in Twin Peaks, up in not the TV show, but Twin Peaks up in the mountains by Big Bear, up in that way of north of LA.
Mhm.
And we went to a observatory-ish area. I think it was like the Fire Watch area we went to. And we actually could look up and we finally saw it. And we was like, what's everybody looking at? Then once we realized what we were looking for, we saw it. And bro, that was awesome. It was just like this blue flame floating through the sky. And it was just like the comet just hanging out. And it was just here. But the way the Earth rotates and if you think about physics and everything else, it just hangs out there for a while, a certain amount of time. That's it.
This is kind of weird, different from what you're saying. Like, I was in Nevada. It's like summer in the middle of Nevada. It's in Fallon. And there was some people. It was like 10 o'clock at night. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna go look for these lost mines." And
Oh
I was
wow.
like, "A mine? Like so like the old like prospectors had these like mines because in Nevada they thought they were gonna find like silver and gold, and there was all these like
Oh yeah, yeah,
mines
yeah.
that they would dug. And they're like, we're gonna go to this mountain that's close and look for these lost mines. I was like, I'm down. And I was a little inebriated, so I was like super down, right?
Of
And it
course.
was like 10:30. I was like, woo! So we went out there and we got to the top of this, like, they're like mountains, but they're also like sand at the same time. It's really weird in
Oh,
in
weird.
Nevada.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, for sure.
so yeah, so we get to the top of this place, and bro, I saw so many stars, like, and there's no light anywhere because there's no town anywhere within like
Yeah.
30 miles at least or something, probably more than that. So there's no light pollution. I just look up, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there's everything. And I stopped everybody that was around us, and we all stopped. Like when I said that, we're all just looking up, and we all stopped for like at least 10 minutes and just stared. Like, I think more people should do that too, because it really makes
Yeah.
you, like I was saying earlier, like it really puts yourself in perspective, like how small you are in the aspect of the rest of the cosmos.
That's very true. Yeah, it's very true. But
All
yeah.
right, Josh. Well,
Well, yeah. Well, hey, thank you all for listening to this episode. The Fantastical Creatures episode will be out soon. What are we talking about next? The Kraken? Is that what's next?
that's what's next.
Yeah.
And then after that, whatever else
Yeah. We'll see
what's
what comes through.
whatever
So,
you want to
but
decide to do.
hey, if you made it to this, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Weird News and more. But yeah, I just shoot us a comment or whatever. Let us know if there's something you want us to cover, cryptids or fantastical creatures, anything. We're down. So yeah,
And if you're an alien listening to this, maybe message me. We'll talk. I won't be
especially
that
if you're
scared.
interdimensional, find a way to
If you're
communicate with us.
interdimensional, please don't show up in my heart. I don't need a heart attack because of
Yes,
an alien.
I figured you would have got me by now, so let's not do this now. So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
and please don't be
thanks for
the
listening. Anyway,
interdimensional widow
interdimensional.
maker.
All right, have a good night.
Later,
Thanks for
Josh.
listening.